this is why men tend to go for younger women rather than older women, because when you go for older women, they go through the ringer. You know, they already racked up experiences. They've already dated multiple people. They had multiple boyfriends. They probably even lived with some of their boyfriends. And when they do that type of stuff, that comes with baggage. And that's baggage that somebody doesn't want to deal with, especially if it's a healthy man.
Solid no. The answer is no. Okay? For those that are out there that are possibly thinking, you know what, maybe I should do a little yes, be in between. The answer is, you want to put a hell to that? Hell no. Don't do that. Why would you want to do that?
Taking out this time to give you a piece of my mind.
These women ain't shit, but hoes with tricks. Baby girl, you different when you're not around. You keep it real.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Know you heard what they say. True love is on divine. I just might trust you with my drugs. Trust you with my money. Just might trust you with my drugs. Might trust you with my money, girl. I trust you with my drugs. Might trust you with my money. Might just trust you with my drugs. Might trust you with my money, girl.
Started out as just a fuck mission. Who'da thought I would've fucked with you? Dope boy, they got trust issues. Never imagine being stuck
I
with
am
you.
back.
Years later, we in the villa.
What it do, baby?
We on vanilla seats. Reminiscing about my episodes with them extra hoes, but you didn't cheat.
It's your boy Sunny Frames in the motherfucking building, Mr. 365, coming in live. Ooh, let's get him.
She the top bitch, but she just wanna know the bottom line. I don't blame her.
Let y'all know, stop. Put some respect on my name.
Options.
You understand me? And y'all saying my name, put some respect on it.
Y'all already know what time it is. It's your boy Fuzzy Vision, trying to see the world clear one day at a time. And you know what time it is. Far From Normal Podcast, baby. What it do, Sonny? We here, we gon' get this motherfucking party started.
Trust you with my money, girl. I trust you with my drugs.
Let's get it. Gotta let that rock. Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Y'all already know what time it is. It's the Far From Normal Bros, and we back at it again. First of all, I'm going to need you to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a mother effing friend to follow and subscribe to your boys. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and other podcast platforms as well. You can catch us on YouTube and TikTok. That's Far From Normal Podcast. Make sure you type that into the search engine. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. You already know we're working hard to make this thing pop off, so you better subscribe. We're keeping you coming with the new content, new guests. We stepping up, man. That's what we do. We Far From Normal. Last but not least, we on the gram. That's far_from_normal_podcast. Make sure you check that out. We also got that website, www.farfromnormalpodcast.com. You guys need to get on that, see what's going on with the guys. We always update that, so make sure you guys stay on top of it. Last but not least, it's your boy Fuzzy Vision with 2 N's. Follow me on the gram for any likes, dislikes, rebuttals, or if you want to be on the podcast, Sonny, let him know the handle, baby. You already know what it is. It's your boy Sunny Frames. You can catch me on the gram as @Sunny Frames, SONNY Frames, double S at the end. Make sure when you go on my gram, make sure to check out my stories. And I always stress my stories just because I usually post a lot of stuff that has to do with great men in this world and what they've achieved in a lifetime, especially when it comes to motivation, inspiration, and chasing your dream. But last but not least, execution. Because you can't go nowhere in this life if you don't execute. A lot of people have dreams, and we all have dreams actually, but what makes the difference between one person and another is the one that executes their dream. And that's
guy, pal. Trust me, you're not that guy.
And that's what we're doing, and that's why we're Far From Normal Podcast. And Fuzzy, let's get him. Woo-wee! Let's get it. Y'all already know what time it is. It's the Far From Normal Bros. And we back, baby, back again. Y'all already know. We better drop the applause for, those tuning in. New listeners, old listeners, first and last time listeners. Shout out to y'all. Those that support the podcast, those that seen it from the beginning stages all the way to this point. We stepping on up, baby. We moving with the times, and we appreciate all those that respect the hustle, respect the grind, and also those that are getting advice and having that conversation with their partner, with their friends, with the community, whatever the case may be. That's what we do. We start the conversation. Sonny, what do you got to say on the matter?
I got to say the same thing. I got to thank family and friends, everybody that's been with us from day one. Our day oneers, I got to thank interviewees that have come on and, have told their stories, helped with the podcast. They enjoy what we're putting out there, and we're going to continue to grow, and we're consistent at what we do. We're consistent at our craft. We're very passionate about what we do, and we're building it as we fly it. So, hey, just stay tuned, and who knows where this is going to go, but I'll tell you one thing. We ain't going to stop. Can't stop, won't stop, baby.
Y'all already know. So today, we got a special guest. Y'all already know. It leads, hey, you can introduce the guest because, this guy, he's a wise brother. I love him on the podcast. He's got that, wisdom in him, and we always would like to share the platform with this brother.
100%. So. We got Jariah the Wise in the building.
Yeah, to drop a bomb. You gotta drop that bomb.
You gotta drop the bomb. You gotta drop the bomb.
Let's get it.
Let's get it. All right. Jariah, how you feeling, baby?
Feeling great. Feeling great. Thank you for having me once again.
100%. We gotta put the applause for him. How do you feel now? Like, doing the podcast, sitting in. What's the feeling? What's the feeling? Even just expressing your thoughts online.
For sure. Energetic. I'm talking
We try.
Yeah, you guys are energetic. You guys are bringing in knowledge, wisdom. I appreciate it.
Okay.
I'm calm and collected, but I'm definitely soaking it up and I'm enjoying. That's one thing I can say for those who want it, an insider, experience. This is it right here. It's a really cool vibe, great individuals. Can't ask for something better in these moments.
Yeah. And also I want to just thank the people that just help and assist,
100%.
People behind the scenes that's making it happen.
Sure.
Definitely want to give them a shout out. I appreciate their job and what they're doing and helping the podcast become even greater than it already is. Every time we go in there, we're always trying to tune it up and trying to make it a great experience for the listeners and the viewers. So I definitely appreciate our behind the scene guys.
Sure. Exactly. So today we're going to get right to the shits. You already know it's the Far From Normal podcast. So today's topic, we're going to get into the relationships. Usually recently we've been talking about business, creativity, creators, how you can start businesses and how you can get ahead in life.
Yep.
But now we're talking about a bigger issue. And this is back to the relationship. So we back. You already know it's the Far From Normal Bros. That's what we do. So today we're going to talk about, do you share your accounts and passwords with your significant other? Once again, should you share your accounts and passwords? And I'm talking about bank accounts. I'm talking about social media accounts. We're talking about the passwords to most of your private accounts that if you were single, you would only have access to. So I'm gonna leave this to you fellas to answer this question. So first, we're gonna start with Jariah first. We're gonna start with Jariah, and we're gonna see what your opinion is, brother.
A solid no. The answer is no. Okay, for those that are out there that are possibly thinking, you know what, maybe I should do a little yes, be in between. The answer is, you want to put a hell to that? Hell no. Don't do that. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want a woman that close to what you got going on in your life?
So I want you to elaborate on this because, a lot of people nowadays, they have it in their head that they want the relationship to be equal to a certain degree.
Who has it in their head? The males or the females?
I think the women more so lean towards this side. So let me ask you the question of this. So if women now are making more money they're in better positions, right? So they're able to support themselves. Supposedly, this is what's the rhetoric, at least out there. Women are independent. They're making enough money to support themselves and whatever habits they have. So any man that they decide to get with, usually they want them to be equally yoked. So that means earning equal or more than what they earn. So now, with that being said, if they're making, say, equal to you, and it comes to the conversation of taking the relationship serious, are you open or are you not open to sharing accounts? But I want you to explain the reason of whichever choice you pick. I want you to explain that reasoning.
Okay. So men and women are different. I start from there. That's the fundamentals that we always have to address when discussing circumstances within relationships, intimate relationships, heterosexual relationships. A man's role versus a woman's role are always going to be different. I think today, for whatever reason, there's an agenda, there's a push that continues to encourage people to think that men and women are 50-50 all the time. So I don't know who these individuals are. If they actually had a name, I'll be calling them, name dropping them. But because I don't know who they are, I think that we got to recognize that a man's role is to lead. Is to lead, is to have direction, is to have guidance, is to have protection. He holds majority of the state, right? When you think about it, he is the individual. Here, let me say this. When people talk about relationships, I always say this when women want to have discussions with me about relationships. I said, listen, we're not in a relationship. You're in my ship. You're in my ship, and we're having relations while you're on my ship. So that's the outlook that I have when it comes to, a man requesting a woman, or, demanding that he knows what's going on with his woman in terms of privacy. Sure, that's fine. But a woman doing that, the question we got to ask ourselves is why? Why does she want this? It can't just be because 50-50 this, 50-50 that. Why? What's your intention? Whereas for me, I could say this, as a man, knowing that women tend to, there's a saying about men having a wandering eye, but we know these days that women are the ones that are oftentimes looking to climb up. Whenever they see just one little bit of weakness within a man, they say, okay, you know what? I don't know if I can keep this relationship, or let me start looking for plan B, plan C, plan D. So they're the ones that I think we should be more watchful towards. And if you want to take it from, let's say, an Abrahamic understanding, if people know the story of Adam and Eve, I always try to say that, naive and dis-Eve always falls on Eve. So the joke that I try to make there is to say that they're the ones that are usually going to be on more of a snake incentive. And as a man, you should pay attention to that. Now, not all women are like this, obviously, hashtag not all, but we're talking about the incentives society today are pushing. They're pushing women to be more, what's that term that they say these days? Hypergamous? Is that the term?
Hypergamous, yeah.
There you go. So that's really where I'm coming from. I feel whole in myself to not necessarily want to know every last detail of what my woman would be doing. But I'm saying, when you don't pay attention to her wants, her needs, her circumstances, and her lust, let's use that word, her lust, you might be blindsided. So I'm totally for men having the passcodes and these privileges and these responsibilities, because it's more of a responsibility if you look at it that way too, than women. I don't think women should have that at all. Save for health. Sure. Want to know what I'm going on with my health? Sure.
So I'll throw that to Sonny. So in terms of sharing, and right now we'll focus on bank accounts. So we'll focus on the bank aspect, because I think that's what Dry was talking towards. I think he was more talking in terms of banks. So now we're going to talk. So I want you to talk about in terms of financially sharing accounts, because financials and social media are two totally different things. So I want you to talk about the financial part in terms of sharing your account, why you wouldn't or why you would do that with a person that you're considering, say, marrying, or you've been in a long-term relationship with.
Okay, so my thing is, in life, you got to protect yourself, and you can't put yourself in harm's way. And when you do something that is that vulnerable, and especially when humans in general are volatile by nature, whether it's men or female, humans in general are just volatile individuals. So because they're volatile, I would not bank on having my significant other have a joint bank account with me, because today they can be somebody that I trust, but tomorrow they can be somebody completely different that I have no idea, like, where did this person come from, right? So just just people being finicky. So in that, I don't trust that aspect of a relationship as much as people say, oh, they're your significant other, they should know what you're doing, and you guys should be sharing each other's bank accounts or sharing each other information in terms of, like, there shouldn't be no privacy. Everybody should, know what's going on. I don't believe that personally, just because I think we all need our own personal privacy. There's certain aspects of things that you just shouldn't know about. I mean, for example, when a woman is having her period or something of that nature, I don't need to hear the details of her having her period and what's going on. I don't benefit from that. If anything, I'm getting turned off knowing that your period is so and so. You know what I mean? I mean, at the end of the day, you want your significant other to still see you in an attractive light. So there's certain things that you gotta mask. It's just like when women would wear makeup and stuff to cover their blemishes, right? And they do that because they don't want whoever that they're attracted to see their flaws. And when you're in a relationship, that should also be applied, because that's where the attraction still remains. But if you just let your hair down, you let everything out in the open, everything that you used to mask to get that individual, they're soon not going to want you anymore, because what they fell in love with and what they enjoyed about you is gone. The magic is gone. It's just like a magician never reveals his trick. The reason for that is because the moment they reveal their trick, it's no longer a trick. It's no longer a fantasy. It's not something that you enjoy anymore, because they know the ins and outs of what goes on in your trick, just like in your life. If you have financial problems and if you have any chinks in your armor, they can exploit that. Even though they don't exploit it at that moment, that can be something that's dangerous to you in the future. So you always got to think about future, not the present day in that sense, because it's the future where it'll really hurt you.
Okay, so so I see what you're saying. I see that pretty much what I gathered is that, you don't know what the day-to-day is going to be 100%. In terms of, if this woman's going to love you today and tomorrow she's going to switch up for whatever reasons, that it doesn't really make sense financially to trust a woman, with these accounts, or anyone for that matter, just because there's always a potential chance of falling out. But now, since we're getting off the whole, money issue and the whole financial spot of things, I want to talk about social media, because now social media is a huge aspect to life. A lot of people have, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, whether it's TikTok, no matter where you look, there's LinkedIn. There's so many different platforms that people are connecting. People are seeing each other, and you can, play sly on those accounts. You can talk to women, you can talk to men, you can facilitate a lot of different things. You can even facilitate escorts for that matter. So there's so many different aspects when it comes to that online game and what's going on. So in terms of social media accounts, is that something, and I want to look at it on both ends. Would you share your account, or would you want your woman to share her account passwords with you if it comes to social media? So Jiraiya, let me know your thoughts on that one.
All across the board, my answer is going to be no. This is what I'm thinking. When we have these conversations, we're speaking about trust.
Sir.
So why have this level of trust is the question. So I'm never going to come from the realm of a woman's perspective on this, because as a man, it is my relationship. It is my world that I am bringing you into. So here's the word again, submit. I'm not submitting to what you got going on. You have to recognize what I got going on. So obviously, if I have a social media account long before you come in the mix, why do you think you want to be privy to such information? In fact, I would give you said privileges if I actually see that, something's about you definitely can aid to my business, aid to my personal life. And so this is why I need you to be able to help me in this way. But these are, let me emphasize the term again. These are privileges. These are privileges. They're not laws. They're not all of a sudden, because we're in a relationship, you have the keys to, So there's that. Now, when it comes to trust, and you can call me a pessimistic kind of individual, but I've learned from experience and just many other individuals that I've been able to watch. The women are the ones likely going to be doing these sorts of things. I'm speaking when I'm talking, I'm coming from the perspective of men being on their mission, men being men, not men moving like boys or men moving like males. And something about a man, if you really are a man, you're gonna realize that other women are gonna likely see that as well, not just your woman. So we have to accommodate the idea that jealousy and, you know, favor from other women's eyes to you will be a real thing. A woman coming into my relationship must recognize that you have to be able to behave yourself. The word is behave yourself. The world does not exist in your head. It's outside of you. The reality exists outside of you. You're a part of reality. So I think what I've noticed just from my experiences, you tend to see women get very territorial, and this is the reason why they want to pry. They want to be, you know, the shepherds of your life. They want to audit you at random points, almost like as if it's a bank and you know, like they just want to audit you whenever they feel the need to. And so, you know, Sonny, you had said something. You said volatility, right? You spoke about volatility. I'm here to encourage individuals to not be volatile, but at the same time, we have to recognize that women tend to be the volatile ones, right? So I say that to say that they have this urge whenever something is not in place with their feelings that are very, you used another term, finicky, they're gonna likely find themselves wanting to do something brash without thinking it through. That's the reason. That's really the primary reason. They want to watch you for moments when they feel insecure. So it's not really about what these things serve. The social media doesn't serve business. They don't care about your business, really and truly. Now, a woman that has her head on her shoulders is likely going to do the best she can to elevate your business, right? And if it's the best for the business, she's willing to take the back seat if it requires her to not have the passcode. You see what I'm saying? But any woman that persists and makes it a make or break circumstance, you realize that that's not what they're egging for. The real truth behind it is they want to monitor you.
Okay, so
it's more feeling based.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so I'll swing that back to you, Sonny. So in terms of the social media accounts, of course, Drya said what he said in terms of, you know, trust, the main factor being trust and understanding that, you know, you have your own personal lives, and if you trust the person you're with, you don't need certain accounts. You don't even yearn to get those that access. So, you know, it'd probably be a red flag. You know, that's a red flag for a lot of people. And again, the woman may argue that's a red flag that you don't want to share your thing. And that's what this whole conversation's about, because in terms of the perspective of a man, we have our own ideology in terms of how we operate and what we expect out of a relationship. Now, as a woman, they have their own protections in place as well. So a woman, obviously, if she's been in scenarios where she's been cheated on, she's, you know, dealt with guys that are, sleeping around or doing their thing on the side, they may have those trust issues and bring it to a relationship, though it's not your problem. You know, many women go through this type of situation. So that's the only reason I can see where there's, you know, there might be a little argument there, especially if a woman's going to try and argue. So Sonny, I want you to talk about that as well in terms of the social media aspect. And other than trust, like in your sense, if a woman was bothering you about your social media and you had nothing to hide, essentially, would you give pushback, and why?
Well, the reason why I would give pushback is because what that tells me is that you're already facing trauma from your past, and you've been in a situation that had possibly already occurred where your significant other probably cheated on you or did something behind the scenes, or you read a text message that was not favorable to you, and that was the cause for your suspicion, because that also tells me that, you know, you have a bit of experience when it comes to the dating field, because you've been in it. But people that don't date around too often, I noticed that that's not their main concern, because they've never faced that type of trauma yet. So they're still green behind the ears. And this is why men tend to go for younger women rather than older women, because when you go for older women, they go through the ringer. You know, they already racked up experiences. They've already dated multiple people. They had multiple boyfriends. They probably even lived with some of their boyfriends. And when they do that type of stuff, that comes with baggage. And that's baggage that somebody doesn't want to deal with, especially if it's a healthy man.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, why should they put up with something that you had to deal with in the past when, I mean, if your intentions are pure and they're thinking of, like, they're thinking of all the negative, they got all these negative thinking in their mind about what you're doing and where have you been, and all that suspicion is creeping up in her mind, that's not somebody you want to be with. So I think at the beginning, I think what happens to a lot of men is they don't screen the woman that they want to be with long enough, 100%.
Exactly.
And that becomes problematic in the future. This is what I'm always talking about, the future. The future is very important because everything you do in the present will reflect on your future.
Exactly.
So if you meet a woman and you take her out, you better make sure you study her very well and you put her through like situations where they can be provoked and see her reaction. How does she react under pressure? You got to put her in multiple scenarios so you can really get a feel for her. Or, you know, even when you talk to her friends and what they say about her, and just see how she goes on with her day-to-day life. Before you make any type of commitment with a relationship, make sure you know who you're dealing with, because again, it can be very problematic in the future when you now have your emotions invested in her.
A lot of these men aren't setting the tone, though. That's the problem. That's really the problem. I say this off camera all the time, that whenever a man wants to complain about a woman, you have to look at yourself first. What are you complaining about? So one thing I've noticed is you use the term screen, and I love that term. But before I even touch into that, a lot of women are living vicariously. It's not their circumstances of trust issues that they have oftentimes.
You're right.
Most times it's broken families. You see what I'm saying? So unfortunately, if we're keeping within the black community and we're speaking from statistics and things of that nature, you get a chance to realize, okay, the father left or the mother left or whatever have you. These infidelity circumstances that are coming within the community is what these children are growing up with, these already seasoned. Imagine that, they're seasoned. You could be a virgin, but before you even find yourself releasing yourself to a man, you already have all these mature trust issues that are cemented in your personality. So this idea that it's, you know, I was with someone, I was living with someone for 3 years, and then most times it's not even like that. And then on top of that, they have girlfriends. So the girlfriends are giving them all this. It's all this scaremongering, fearmongering. It's happening. It can happen to you. The way they say it too, like you would be scared too. So I say this to say, I challenge this notion that every woman, you know, her trust issues are valid. I toss that out the window. I don't care for that. That's number one. Or the way that they make it seem suspecting, right? Secondly, the thing I was gonna say earlier on too was, if you're not setting the tone when you're screening, this is how you screen. This is practical advice from my experience. This is how you screen. Now let's look for a name. Can I get a female's name? What's a name? What's a good name to use?
Keisha.
All right, Keisha. All right, look, Keisha. Keisha, I have direct interest in you. There's certain things I see that I can definitely build. There's certain things that you have that can aid and help what I got going on. And I promise you, if you aid in that way, you will get these things. However, here's how you can end up being a distraction and a temptation and a problem and a continuous problem if you're doing X, Y, Z. So you have to actually, as a man, confront, have that assertiveness to be able to talk to said Keisha and say to her, these are things that I'm not going to tolerate. So right off the jump, you should be able to say to her, look, if you have any kind of trust issues and things of that nature where you think you have to have my social media because you think I'm going to cheat on you, I'm going to tell you this right now. The being that I am are going to have women continue to look at me. I'm a man and I don't have wandering eyes, but I do have eyes. So you have to recognize that. At the end of the day, I'm coming back. The things that I'm trying to build with you, if you really want a long-term relationship with me, if you really want a family with me, I'm going to be bringing back, as the saying goes, bring back the bacon, bring home the bacon. You will be a recipient of that. However, you're not going to be a recipient of that if you allow these little finicky ideas of yours, these little scares that you have in your mind to become a reality. What that's going to do more actually is going to have me distance myself from you. And then that's going to create more tension in your mind, saying maybe he's distancing himself because he does have something to hide. It's like, no, as a man, I do not have to be beholden to you in these sorts of ways. I do care and I do consider your emotions, and I understand that what you feel is real to you. But you got to understand, in the end, remember what we're doing here. On my relationship, we have a destination. That destination benefits you as well. And
Okay,
I think
so
they need
I
to
want
recognize that.
I want to rebuttal that.
Okay,
because
talk to me.
so the problem with that is you're talking to her in a more logical manner, right? And women don't respond too well when it comes to you speaking to her in a more logical manner. Women are more about their feelings, more about their emotions.
I don't believe that.
I do, because I just from my own experience with women.
You're right with what you're saying. What I'm saying is they hear this.
No, they hear. I'm
These women, they
not
listen to these kind of shows.
I'm not saying that they don't hear this.
Yeah.
But will they follow what you're saying? I don't believe that.
No, what I'm saying is, to your point, they hear that women are very emotional, this, that, and the third, and they double down on it. In moments where they can actually pay attention, they'll say, you know what? There is a saying out there that kind of goes like, women are so emotional. And so they'll play into that. A lot of times they'll put a lot of energy into that and water that soil when they can. Not every woman operates from the same level of masculinity or not masculinity, of logic behavior like us men. So I'm not saying that a woman is 50-50 or 100-100. If a man is 100%, I'm not saying a woman is 100%. But I am saying there are women out there that can listen to this basic truth. Because my question to you now, Sonny, is at what age should a woman be able to hear basic logic?
So, see, it varies according to where you are geographically, because what tends to happen is in certain places around the world, people grow up faster than others. So in North America, we're very, I would say, sheltered and babied, where the developmental process takes a lot longer than other places around the world, right? So I hear this from my father all the time, like certain stuff that he used to do as a young man and as a teen and as an adult, how he was at a certain age, he was doing this, I was taking care of my parents, I was doing this and that. And that was because of where he was geographically. He was able to render certain help, a helping hand, and he had more responsibilities at that point in his life. Whereas you living in a first world country, your situation's different. You know, you could have, maybe you won't have as much family members. Not everybody's gonna be leaning on you. Certain stuff are gonna be different. You're gonna have certain technological advantages. So there's a lot of things that they won't be able to understand. So my point is, getting back to the point that you were saying with women, can you remind me, because I got lost in
but you were saying, you were also saying that you were talking about demographics to mention that there are differences in how women are raised.
Okay, yeah, so so when I say the difference in how women are raised, so some will be mature enough to be able to hear the conversation and work on themselves.
But
right?
maturity is not a trait, which means you can learn to be mature.
You could learn to be mature.
And these women can learn to be mature. It doesn't even matter if, let's say, they didn't grow up in let's say, an African nation.
So the question is, how long are you willing to put up with a woman that's not mature?
I love that question.
That's immature, yeah.
So that's why we have to have these conversations right at the table, where I say right off the jump, when you first realize I want to actually develop. Here's the thing. We got to know who we're discussing, because some males just want to be with women.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So they don't really think too much about these type of long-term, positions.
Oh yeah, no, but that's because they're caught up in
juvenile.
I wouldn't say
if you're caught up, if you're a man, and you're
I wouldn't say they're juvenile, but what I would say is they're more caught up in the adrenaline rush of being infatuated with a woman, the lust of a woman.
Okay.
And so they're just not able to control their urges as well as other men.
And if you cannot control your urges, I think these are the things that might separate you between a male and a man. Right?
I think, to
some degree, right?
To some degree, I could agree with that. Yeah.
And I say that to say
I'll disagree.
Okay,
you'll disagree?
I'll disagree with that because controlling your urges, that comes. Everyone has certain urges, right? So think about it. you can be any age and be addicted to certain things. You know, whether you're a man or not a man, you can have a whole family. You could have provided for that family. You could have fought many of urges, but I think men are flawed as well. So I think that that wouldn't define the difference. I think there's no definition of a man. I think we can construct a man in our head, and even the same thing with a woman. There's no necessarily constructive a way to describe them, like in a singular way. But I do believe that, as you get older, you do mature, but there's certain things that you cannot necessarily be taught. There's certain things that you can be taught it, but it has to have been inherent for you to really understand how it goes, and especially like submissiveness or being a wife. A lot of these things, people say you can teach somebody, but I'm under the belief that you're winging it more than anything if you're not used to those environments, if you're not used to seeing examples and stuff like that. Now you can construct whatever you want out of thin air, out of movies, out of novels, out of other people's examples, but I think you kind of have to be within it, usually within a family that has those type of practices, or people that were close to you that live by those certain standards when it comes to certain things. And one thing I wanted to say even about what we're discussing in terms of what the guy wants, and him saying, okay, listen, you have to be on my program. And I know Jariah was talking about, we're talking about like a guy that's a man, and when we categorize man, we're talking about somebody that's on his purpose, getting his things done, whether it's financially, socially. He has everything on point, so he can have these type of standards. Not every man, we understand that, but at the same token, it's like, again, back to the definition of being a man. Who determines that? What are the requirements to be that type of man? Because frankly, anyone can jump in the realm and say they're a man, and who are you to tell them they're not a man in terms of what they've accomplished or what they've done, and in terms of that, they're a man.
And so I think, and I totally recognize that, and I understand that, and I respect that idea as well. I think standards, I think what's happening in our Western societies, because we don't have standards to look up to, use that term winging it, that can be incredibly dangerous. Here's a case in point. Imagine boarding a plane and the pilot just wants to wing it. If you knew that the pilot had that kind of mentality, how confident would you be to want to stay on that plane before it takes off? So I say that to kind of say that there has to be standards, and this is where the heart of the conversations that plague modern discussions, especially within relationships, come, because people don't want to sometimes submit to notions that are bigger than them. So when you said who gets to determine who's a man and who's not a man, I would suggest that there are standards out there that can at least begin answering that. I don't want to be the type of individual that's just here saying, here's what a man is, and here's not. I don't want to be that type of human being. However, I think there are ways, and we can connect it to how people drive. There's got to be some understanding, some status quo of understanding of how to drive good, well. Maybe you're not a great driver. And I say that to say that the reason why I'm touching on that is because when women listen to this, because these days a lot of women, they send me podcasts such as Far From Normal. They'll send these seriously. They'll send these podcasts and ask what's your take on this? What's your take on this? You ever have women do that to you? They'll be like, what's your opinion on this? What's your take on this? Right?
100%.
So essentially, I think when they do that, it's a chess game. They want to see where you stand.
100%.
Because they want to know if they want to submit or not. So I say that to say that they will still follow standards. There are standards that they're still willing to follow. They just want to test. And when we give them that opportunity for them to say, you know what's really up, what's really down, we're not too sure, we're kind of winging it, it allows them to do what they do best, which is manipulate, deceive, play dead. A lot of times women play dumb. I'm starting to notice that these women, that's their right? That's their go-to. That's their go-to. So discussing this and speaking to them directly about it is to at least inform them that I'm on to you. Because if you're just winging it, and someone mentioned urges and let's say lust. Yes, we're men, we have lust. But how we work with that lust. You can actually be working with that lust to let the woman know, if you do have concerns that I'm going to look at a woman, I am letting you know right now, I'm a man. I will see a woman. I will appreciate what I see from another woman outside of you. And you cannot control that, because the moment we start giving father to that and flaming that kind of feeling, that lie starts becoming a reality. And this is where a lot of males, they fail. They fail because they just want to appease, especially certain type of men. They just want to relax, and not that it's a bad thing. They just want to coast. They already have a plan. Their job's already demanding, so they don't want to fight and they don't want to bicker and all these type of things. So 9 times out of 10, they likely will yield to the idea that whatever that woman might try to do. But the problem with that is we know that it's not real. So you've just validated things that aren't real. So the woman will come back with that new law that you just set that you didn't even know you set. She'll come back another day and still say, hey, I thought this and I thought that. So she's not micromanaging you based off of a feeling that you yielded to. And so having these discussions with a woman right off the get-go allows you to let her know that she can't just be doing that. That you are a man and you do give into lust from time to time. That does not mean you're going to break your relationship. That does not mean you have an intention to cheat. Unless you do, because if you do, say that too. Just put it all on the table.
Yeah, so you see, the way I look at it is, when it comes to a lot of these women, again, there's certain traits that they should have already learned, or certain behaviors that they should have already learned before they even got into the relationship to begin with.
Exactly.
Because all women have a default. So whatever they were brought up by, whatever woman brought them up, or whatever parents brought them up, they've already built in a default on how to behave and what to expect from a man.
Emotional, damn it.
Now, if they had a bad relationship with their father or their mother, or what they've seen when it comes to relationships, then that may be her default. Just seeing that type of lifestyle, it not working, and the toxicity in it is probably something she thinks that she should incorporate in her own relationship. She may wanna cause that turmoil because it's like, that's what I seen. That was my reality. I assumed that that's what makes a relationship. And then there's some people that have seen relationships and it worked out and things were rosy and they never seen any of the negative side of the relationship. So that's what they tried to implement. They tried to implement a fairy tale.
Let me try to, I agree with most of what you said. I want to just challenge something there.
Okay.
Did we not get, I heard this term recently, PK. Do you know that term? That term, pastor's kids. That's what that means, PK. I just heard that recently. I didn't even know that, right? So you would think that a pastor's child was raised in this pristine home that we speak of, with proper morals, this, that, and the third. But we've also heard these sorts of women tend to be what in the bedroom?
Oh yeah.
So you would say, is the mother teaching that? Is the father teaching that?
So what's happening over there is rebellion. So
okay.
That's
so they go back to their nature. And I think that a woman has a nature that's different from.
So you think that's her nature, or it's just that
sure.
she's just
these women have a nature.
She's trying to stick it to their pastor father. She wants to get them go. She knows that that's
So why would she do that? Why would she want to do that? Even
because she wants to upset her father.
For what reason? When she's been raised well.
Because I think when you smother a person too much and you try to make them live by a certain guideline in life, and because humans in general have flaws, right? And I can see a father being a pastor being really hard on their children and living this perfect life, but life is not perfect, right? So if you give them this false reality of perfection and they always have to live up to this level of perfection, there's gonna be a point where they're not gonna be perfect, and they're gonna struggle with it at first and say, wow, I'm not actually perfect, like what's going on? And they may have a mental breakdown, and then they start realizing, they start looking around and they see their fellow colleagues, or they'll see their friends and they'll see that they're not perfect and they have their flaws and their errors, and then they say to themselves, well, why am I trying to live this perfect life when nobody's actually perfect? So in that case, you know what? Let me see how it looks on the other side, because I've been living like this for so long that when they get to the other side and they see it for the first time, they get excited. There's an adrenaline rush. There's this whole new world that opened up to them that they had no clue of. It's like, I always thought the I always thought the grass was green on the other side. I always thought like everything was all rosy and heavenly on my side.
Whatever, I do what I want.
And then I go over to the next side, and then I see a whole different world where people don't care and they're living how they want and they don't give a damn. That's more enticing to them than living where they used to live for so long.
That's what you see. In a sense, I think you're even proving the point that even if they're raised well, they'll still break all the well that they were raised in for the sake of what proclivity, just so that they can have a good night out or whatever have you. So I'm saying that I don't even think that raising them well will keep them that way. And that's why I say there's a bottom nature that's attached to them that allows them to want to just bend and test and challenge for the sake of, it might even, in a sick way, it might even bring them joy. So that's going to be there when we bring it back to the social medias. The woman is not challenging your social media accounts. She wants your passcode because she thinks this, that, and the third's really going to happen. She just wants to provoke you and see just how much she can get from you in every instance. Now, I don't want to make it seem like they're so devil incarnate. That's not what I'm describing and suggesting. I'm saying their nature have them enjoying these moments in a way that a man won't find enjoyable. That's all I'm saying in these moments.
Okay, so I want to get back to the topic at hand, which is trust. Essentially, trust is the main thing we're talking about here, and obviously, in terms of male's perspective and a woman's perspective, is just different. In terms of how we believe, trust has to be administered in a relationship, varies very differently from a woman. Now, men have. Of course, most men are going to be traditional minded in terms of how they want their relationship to be, just because that's usually what they've seen and what they've followed. Media would suggest this. A lot of things that you watch and pay attention to would suggest this. So men are known to be the breadwinners, known to take control and take lead when it comes down to the family household. So that's just natural or constructed, whatever it is. It's what's been done and what's been documented. So that's just where men go. So it sounds like, in terms of this conversation, if I were to assume, of course, the accusations of misogyny and certain type of control issues and that type of insecurity talk is going to come into this conversation, especially when it comes to men. It's always seems to me to be an issue of insecurity, not being secure with yourself, hiding things, being disingenuous.
What isn't secure? Just so
I think the conversation that
not giving them the password would suggest that the man's being insecure.
I think this is the argument, and I want to have this conversation with women. I want to see where they stand. So this is a good base topic that we can use even in another podcast, just because I believe that a lot of women are going to fight that ability for the man to hide things and be private about things. I think a lot of women will flag that as a red flag. So
100%.
I guess the big issue here is, why for a man is that such a significant thing, and why for a woman it's such a significant thing as well on the opposite end, in terms of getting access to your account and the guy giving access to his account. Why is it such a big deal on the opposite ends of the spectrum? I guess that's the ultimate question. Why men would have more, reluctance to give their passwords, when you could have solved certain issues, maybe short term, maybe long term, I don't know. But I just want you to answer that one.
So the reason why a lot of men tend to go against the grain in terms of what women typically want from their men is because the men that usually get these women are the ones that don't oblige to a woman's will. They don't submit. They're doing everything in their power to keep their sovereignty.
Exactly.
And that's what women gravitate towards.
And that's what they want.
Yeah, the psychology behind it, I don't know. I'm not the creator. I don't know why they do that. But that's what they gravitate towards. Instead of getting the guy that has the stability, that has the financial backing, that he's a church goer, or he's a family man and he's gonna make sure that the family's taken care of. No, they're gonna go for the bad boy. They're gonna go for the guy. They're They're gonna be going for the guy with the motorcycle. They're gonna be going for the Tyrone, the guy with the wife beater and the durag on.
Exactly.
He's out there, he's flexing. He's in the weight room, or he's doing the calisthenic bars at the park. That's what they're into, you know what I mean? They like the bad boy. They like the guy that goes against the grain, that nobody can tell him nothing. You can't tell them shit.
There's truth to
You know
that.
what I mean?
You're right.
So knowing that fact is the reason why people push back when it comes to, if you could just give them your password. Yeah, I could just give them my password. I could just give them my bank account. Yeah, let's do a joint bank account. Hey, shit. What about, let me give you my keys to my car. You know what? I shouldn't drive my own car. I should just take the bus. Why am I driving? Oh, yeah, because she doesn't have a car, I see that goofy mentality.
It is goofy.
I see guys doing that type of stuff, and I'm looking at them scratching my head. You out here working so hard, and then you're gonna do something like that? Like, I just don't get it. This is not logical. This is just like foolishness.
Exactly.
I can't join in on that buffoonery.
Exactly.
I can't, because I can see how illogical and irrational that is. So that is not something that I would say would fly.
To the males that actually do yield to these women, my question is, are they satisfied after you do give them passcodes?
No.
Does it end there? Does it end there? Or is
It
there
never
more?
does. It never does. And this is what I'm talking about.
You give them an inch, they'll take them out.
100%.
There you go.
And this is why you don't want them to get to that point, right?
Exactly.
Because it's like they're just gonna keep asking for more, right? Just keep grabbing inches as they go along.
And it's difficult for you to set the standard as you've went along. You're
100%.
halfway there
Yes,
with
sir.
them now, and then
100%.
Yeah.
And I know exactly how that goes, because I remember. So my last girl, she ended up living with me, right? And it's so funny how things work, because when they first come into your house, she had like a
so
little
respectful.
Yeah, no, it's not even that. No, that. So the respect level never changed, right?
Okay.
She was great.
Good.
But when it comes to spacing, right? So she came from having a little space in my spot, like, okay, you're gonna get this little spot over here. This is what you get. All right. Yeah, that's okay, no problem. And then all of a sudden,
She's
every
expanded.
day, every day, her spot got bigger and bigger. Like, and you're just seeing the inches just keep like widening, and you're like, wait a minute, I gave you this space.
Halfway. Take a few steps back.
How the fuck did you get to here? Like, I don't get how you came from here to there.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, now you're the one that had the little cubby space, and she's the
Exactly.
one that has the whole house. And now you're like, and you're sitting there like, what just happened? What just happened is you never put your foot down, and she took
Exactly.
complete advantage of it. And then by the time you knew it, she already took your house while you were sitting there
And so-
scratching your head.
And so, again, just bringing it back to, I guess, formation or strategy for this chess game. Unfortunately, these are games, and I hate calling them games, but you got to have a strategy because they will test you.
Yeah,
It's definitely going to be a
100%.
test. So I say to myself, it's like, do you want to be this? Because some women you speak to, and it's like, okay, do I want to be the sort of person that looks to the woman that, you know what, you can get whatever you want? Because there's some advantages to that, to some degree. Looking that way and not actually being that way. That's what I mean. I'm not saying you are this way, because if
Yeah,
you are
okay.
this way, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But sometimes the element of surprise in the sense, oh, okay, so let's see what you do once I give you this kind of leash. Because even what I was saying earlier, and I want for the men who are paying attention, this isn't going to be, if you actually apply setting the tone and making sure you screen the woman in her face and I don't want to use the term confronting, but being at least assertive to let her know this is how the law is. You do run the risk of that beautiful woman or that body woman that you appreciate. If it's to a degree she doesn't appreciate it, she's not going to want to commit to you because you don't see malleable enough for her to take advantage. So some strategy sometimes will come where it's like, let's give them a little bit of bait. But you have to make sure you set the tone and where you're not going to give bait to and where you're going to give bait to. You can't just be letting her advance, because to the point Sonny just made, you come back home to your home that you pay for all these years, all these months.
It's gone, man. It's gone.
It's not yours.
You're the renter now. You're the renter, man. She's the owner. It becomes in reverse. And I would use Death by a Thousand Cuts by Sun Tzu.
There you go.
They come at you slowly. You don't even see them creeping.
Yeah, but
You
I
don't
guess
see them
you know what
creeping.
the moral of the story is. When it comes to trust, there's certain things that are gonna have to be implemented, and there's certain things that are gonna be, it's gonna vary from men to men, man to woman. Everyone's gonna have their own opinions, but I do believe that, when you're in a relationship, you also have to, respect that person's boundaries. I think that's the biggest thing about this.
100%.
It's gonna come down to boundaries. A lot of people aren't gonna give in to tactics and stuff like to keep tabs on them and or to have one up on them or to prove yourself. A lot of people don't want to go through that. So a lot of the times, relationship won't work out if that's a stipulation. So you heard it from us. There's 3 men here in the room. Most of us believe that, this wouldn't be an ideal situation for most men, especially a man on his purpose.
Exactly.
And I do want women that are hearing this podcast to hear the points that were said. And if you want to come on the podcast, we here. We can debate. We can
100%.
debate. We can talk
Sure.
about what's right and what's wrong.
Sure.
And we can have a respectful, conversation when it comes down to it. So definitely, appreciate the guest that came on. Jariah, you already know.
Thank you for
We're
having me.
gonna have to drop some bombs for you once again. You already
Appreciate
know.
the
You
love.
dropped some gems as well. Make sure you check him out. Make sure you check him out, and even for the the topic at hand today. Again, we're always trying to give men advice. This channel is mainly meant for men. We do give women advice as well. It just depends what topic we're talking about. So again, to men listening in, take what you can from it. Have that conversation. If you're in a relationship, maybe think about some of the actions you're doing, because we just dropped some gems. A lot of men don't get this type of information, so we drop in all that fire, making sure you guys stay on point when it comes to these relationships. Because let me tell you, one wrong relationship can ruin your goddamn life.
This is true.
100%. I just believe that there's not enough communities where they're actually showing men the path of,
Facts.
what's necessary and what's needed in order to protect yourself
Exactly.
when it comes to your mental health, your finances, your emotions, stuff of that nature. So that's why we speak to men, because even when I have conversation with men on the street, I can see how clueless they are. And men typically just kind of walk around with, their heads in the clouds. They go to work, they work hard, and then at the end of the day, they take care of their family, they pay their bills, and then, they give the rest of the money that they have to their women. Right. And right now we're just trying to make them more conscientious about what's going on and what they should be aware of and how they should be treated when in a relationship, especially if they're working hard and especially if they're the breadwinner. I think it's very important for them to understand that you don't need to be this silent partner that's just paying the bills and, making everybody satisfied except for yourself. So we're just saying that you should be more assertive and take the initiative and be a leader in your household.
Well, I want to add one quick point, if you guys mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
When it comes to privacy, I think this is a fundamental question to the men out there. So once you do give her, right, all these private information that you have with your Facebook, your passcodes to your banks, things of that nature, how would she behave on the days where she's not in love with you and she's not enjoying your presence? What would she do with that information? That's important to consider.
That's a great question. I mean, that is a great question.
Love it. I want you guys to ponder on that question.
100%. We'll be back. You already know.
And we'll be back. Make sure to hit us up. You can catch me on Sunny Frames, double S at the end, Instagram. Make sure you DM me if you have any debates or rebuttals. Make sure to hit me up if you want to get on the podcast again. Hit me up on the DMs. Make sure you check out the content. Like, subscribe, follow. You already know what it is. Fuzzy, got anything else to say?
You already know it's your boy Fuzzy Vision. I see that vision clear every day. It's getting clear. So you already know. Shout out to all y'all listening to the podcast, and we'll be back. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share the content.
And Jariah, you got anything else you want to say?
Sure.
No, I appreciate
Plug in nothing.
I mean, you can find me Instagram handle Jariah_PRO. That's JARIAH_PRO.
There we go.
Appreciate you guys for having me.
There we go. You heard it yourself, man. And we are out. Deuces.
Say good night to the bad guy. Come on. The last time you're gonna see a bad guy like this again, let me tell you. Come on. Make way for the bad guy. There's a bad guy coming through.
No, trust me. You're not that guy.
You're scared, coward. You got man enough to fuck with me. You can't last 2 minutes in my world.
He looked like a bitch.
You don't have future here. You don't have future. You can never make it. You're supposed to be a dinner man, serving dinner to the students in the secondary school.
See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're gonna find out. If you stay down here and you never fuck around, you'll never find out.